The data set that we have used for our project is New York's taxi and limousine commissions trip data. The dataset contains information about the pickup and drop-off locations and times, fare amounts, trip distance and tip given, and other data. We have captured the data for a 6-month period from Jan to June 2015. We have aggregated the data based on unique pickup locations. We have performed cluster analysis on the data based on parameters such as the fare amount, the number of rides, the trip distance and the tip amount. In the visualization you can see that in cluster 3 the pickup locations are spread out. In cluster 2 they are more concentrated in a specific area, and in cluster 1 the number of pickup locations is very small. Let's move on to the next visualization. Here you can see some key stats. I'll go through each one by one. So in the first one it shows the count of rides for the different clusters. So cluster 1 has the least number of rides, cluster 2 has the highest number of rides, and cluster 3 has a little less than cluster 2. When it comes to the fare, the cluster 2 is generating the maximum number of amount of income for the company, and followed by cluster 3. Cluster 1 is generating very little income. Let's have a look at the average fare per ride and the average fare per mile. When it comes to the average fare per ride, cluster 1 is doing quite well. Also, when it comes to the average fare per mile, cluster 3 is doing well. So let's see which locations are generating the highest revenue. In the map you can see that for each cluster which are the locations that are generating the highest amount of revenue. Let's look at the complaints that are received from these locations. I would like to add here that the secondary data set that we have used contains the complaint data for the New York taxis. So we have joined the trip data along with the complaint data for the further analysis. Let's have a look at the number of complaints that are received from the regions that are generating the highest amount of revenue. So here we see that the top 5 regions that are generating the highest amount of revenue have 157, 154 and 224 and 4 complaints during the 6-month period. Through the next visualization, we are trying to answer the question whether higher revenue leads to higher number of complaints. So here you can see that the regions are sorted in descending order with respect to number of complaints. So Broadway Boulevard has the highest number of complaints, but it does not provide the highest revenue, or is not even in the top 5 when it comes to the amount of revenue generated. So I think this is sufficient evidence to debunk that theory that higher revenue leads to higher complaints. Let's move on. So what have you learned from this story? Pickup locations can be broadly classified into high average fare, medium and low average fare. Higher average fare pickup locations generate low total revenue. Low average fare pickup locations generate high total revenue. Brookville Boulevard provides pickup locations for small and high fare. Top locations generating high revenue area does not have high complaints. Recommendations: we would recommend that the taxi company increase the number of rides in locations in cluster 1 as they have a higher average fare per ride. Also, services in areas such as Broadway Boulevard should be improved as it has a high number of complaints coming in, and it is also a tourist hub. That concludes our presentation. Thank you.